Welcome to the YourTown television program. My name is Joy Anderson, and I'm the Member Relations Manager for the Monterey Peninsula Chamber of Commerce. And today I have Joe Smith with Sotheby's Realty with me as my guest. Hello, Joe.
Hi, Joy. It's great to be here.
Great. Thanks for joining me today.
Thank you.
Okay, let's start. I know that you're you're a native, aren't you? Or
I
a
am. Born and raised in Pacific Grove.
Born and raised in Pacific Grove.
Yes.
Okay, so
I went to the same elementary school that my mother went to.
Wow.
Not at the same time. We went at different times.
I was going to say, child bride.
Robert Down.
Robert Down.
Grove. Yep.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So you've seen a lot of things happen in this community.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Changes.
A lot of changes.
Some good.
Yes.
Some okay.
Mm-hmm. A lot more people, it seems like,
around here. A lot more
here.
people?
Sure, more traffic.
More traffic?
It's still just as beautiful as it was the first time I ever took my bike ride out.
Yeah. Well, I think, part of it is when we talk about traffic, and this is kind of a side note, but from what I have experienced, it seems like when I grew up, because I grew up here too, I was born and raised in Carmel, that we only had tourist traffic during the summer months, and then the winter months died out, and it was just us locals. But now that trend has changed, and people come all year long, and so I think a lot of it. I don't know if residents per se. I don't know. You're gonna tell me that, being in real estate, but yeah. Tell me about that. Tell me how you think the real estate market has grown. I mean, are you seeing more residents? Are you seeing more people coming in and out, or people staying longer?
I think on the tourist end of it, I think there's a lot of people that come for day trips, not necessarily overnight. Maybe more than what used to.
Mm-hmm.
They'll come in for the day because of the aquarium, Fisherman's Wharf, things like that. So we see some of them. They might walk in our office, or they might come by an open house.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times it might be a dream that they have to live here someday.
Yeah.
So we certainly love talking to them and telling them the benefits of the community and how great it is to live here. A lot of times they're not prepared at that point to purchase something, but
mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean that they certainly can dream that. We also find that the busy times, during the big events that come here, we have a lot of people that come into town. Maybe the days before or the days after those events, we see people looking at homes, possibly to have a second home here. That's something that we have seen a big change in.
Oh, good.
I think it was maybe a number of years ago, 15, 20 years ago, it would be Carmel and Pebble Beach that mostly had a lot of the second homes, where
mm-hmm.
people would only spend weekends or a few weeks in the summer. And now we're finding, Pacific Grove and Monterey also. A lot of people have purchased homes, and they're just second homes or they're retirement homes. Our market for the next 20 years are baby boomers.
Right.
I don't like to throw the millennials out because they purchase too, but the baby boomers are looking to retire somewhere, and one thing they know is that our prices today are probably less than they'll be in 5 years. So they may purchase today and have a second home, over the next 5 years with the intent to retire here someday. To
retire here.
Sure.
Absolutely.
We see a lot more of that.
Well, yeah, the baby boomers are really active in making those decisions. I joke all the time because I have been studying millennials for a while, and the word out there is that millennials don't want to buy homes, and I go, well, they're taking a little bit longer to make that big leap into purchasing homes.
They do. I have a couple sons, 3 sons that are millennials, and buying a home is not as important to them at this point in their life, and they don't live here; they live in other places, but. That's not important right now to
mm-hmm.
them. Very young families.
Mm-hmm.
I think they'd like to, but they just can't at this point.
Yeah, it's not high on their priority list either. I think a lot of them prefer actually to travel more.
Yes.
Yeah, which, for us, being a baby boomer, it's just like, well, hopefully when we, do all the things that we needed to do in our life and raise our children, maybe then we can travel. But,
That's right.
But you've not always been in real estate. Tell us a little bit about your background, and then how did you transition into real estate from all the other things that you've done?
Well, I'll tell you very quickly. Out of college, I worked for a gentleman locally here that had small inns, bed and breakfast inns in Carmel, Pacific Grove, and so I worked for him and ran a couple of those inns. Then I got involved with a property management company that had motels up and down California, Oregon, and Arizona. So I supervised those properties from an office here, for several years. And then I was traveling so much, I got to a point where a friend of mine was selling a candy store in Carmel, and so we bought a candy store to keep me in town a little bit more. And we had a candy store and an ice cream store, one in Monterey and one in Carmel, for about 11, 12 years.
How fun.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed the candy store and the ice cream store because of the people that would come in every day.
And everybody was always smiling.
You never went into a candy store unhappy.
Exactly.
And you left happier. And so that was very enjoyable, and I loved that for many years. And then about 16 years ago is when a cousin of mine had married a local realtor, and he just continued to bug me. He was a broker, and he continued to bug me about the real estate business and say, "Look, come and work with me, and I can teach you the business." And so that was 16 years ago. And then it's been a couple different small boutique companies. And then about a little over 3 years ago, we merged with Sotheby's International Realty, and that's been very good. They are really the top company locally and internationally, and they have a great marketing program. So I really have enjoyed working with Sotheby's. A lot of great agents there. And I work out of the Pacific Grove office, but we have an office on Ocean Avenue in Carmel and an office in Carmel Valley.
So, times of the year. People always ask me, when's a good time to list my home?
Between January and December.
Perfect.
Anytime.
Anytime.
You bet. It depends on what you want to get. Not
Okay.
price, but what is it that, what's your motivation? Are you moving up? Are you downsizing? Are you moving out of the area, retiring,
right.
whatever? It depends on what your motivation is, but we sell homes here every day. And so we think of the summertime, a little nicer weather. We think of the summertime as being the time that we might have more people that are looking, but
not necessarily.
We went into escrow on a home in December, and we closed January 3rd. So homes sell every day. There's no great time. I mean, the spring and the summer is when we think about, putting houses on the market, and certainly that's when we see more houses come on the market.
I think it's because after the winter time, people are, ready to do a little bit of sprucing up before they put their house on the market, and the weather's more favorable for them. But I mean, I know I lived in the Midwest for a short time, and I just remember houses being on the market in the dead of winter, and the houses are covered in snow, and people are still looking at them and buying them. So
I have colleagues, friends that are in other areas that in the wintertime they don't really show houses.
No.
So we are fortunate enough to have very mild weather. We've certainly had our share of rain recently, but we have mild weather here year round. We're showing houses in the summertime at 7:30, 8 o'clock at night.
Oh yeah, that's perfect. But how about new development growth? What are you thinking about that? No, there's not.
No, and that's one reason why our prices are where they are. We have a certain amount of land. There's not, they're not making any more dirt. What's here on earth is it, and so. When you look at the cities of Pacific Grove, Monterey, Seaside even, there's just no room to grow.
Right.
There's some lots that are available to build on in Pebble Beach, and they, for another year or two, have water available so that you can get a meter and build a house. Marina is where we're seeing certainly a lot more development. We're seeing developments out there that we've not seen here since Seaside Highlands. Where there will be 300, 500, 600 units that are being built. So Marina is going to grow over the next few years, and it certainly is affordable. So Marina, I think, will change over the next few years, especially with the ability to have housing, and then also with the school there as the university grows. So Marina's going to.
But I think that's always been the challenge around here is the inventory. I mean, you know, people come here ready to buy, and it's just like, and I know how fast it gets scooped up. Oh my goodness, you can put something on the market and, you know, a few hours later.
Yeah, if it's priced right and
If
it's good condition and the location's pretty good, it'll get an offer pretty quick. Yeah.
I mean, that's great. However, for somebody that, you know, is taking their time or what, they can't. They really can't take their time, can they?
No, and first-time home buyers, it's hard for them and families. You know, I love to. Because all of my kids went to the Pacific Grove schools also, I love to get families, you know, into the Pacific Grove schools if we can. And it's hard.
It is hard. It's
especially
very
as first-time home buyer, it's the financing can be the hardest part of the transaction. You know, buying the house is easy. It's getting the loan sometimes.
So, as a realtor, you really own your own business. I mean, you're your own agent. You work under a brokerage firm, but you know you're really a self-owned business. So as far as tips for people out there that have their own businesses, small businesses, how are you giving them advice as far as getting their business started? I mean, what are some of the key things that people need to do?
If it's something that they've never done before or something that is a brand new business, even if they know that business but they're opening in a new town, boy, they've got to do their research. They've got to find out, they've got to do a 5-year plan and plan for those first few years that maybe they're not making anything. I know that before we opened our ice cream store in downtown Monterey, I went over to another ice cream store, and I sat in the parking lot and I counted how many ice creams came out the door. And I counted when the busiest times were, when the slow times were, and then I could go in and find out, okay, well, 1 scoop's this amount, 2 scoops this amount. At the end of the day, I could tell approximately how much business they did. Well, I needed to know that in order to put together my 5-year plan as to open my own ice cream store. So I think it depends on the business. You have to do that. I used to be in the motel business, and you know you're familiar with that. We were in some of the ones I supervised. We were in a small community down south in San Luis Obispo County, and our managers would go out on a Friday night. Count cars.
Count cars.
You've heard of that before.
Parking lots of the competitors. Yes, absolutely.
You want to find out
or during the week for the business folks, we look at the logos on the side of the trucks and things like that to figure out where the business was coming from.
So I think
you do have to do your due diligence.
You've got to do that, and you have to figure out a 5-year plan along with a 5-year budget and how you're going to make it. Because I think that especially in retail, you don't just open the doors and people line up out the doors.
No.
You've got to have a plan as to how people are going to know you.
Right.
Chamber of Commerce is great.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been involved with the chamber for a long time.
And as an ambassador,
An ambassador, but the networking is tremendous. I've gotten a lot of business. I like to tell people that I got my biggest sale came because of the Chamber of Commerce. Somebody called the chamber and they sent them to me.
Well, that's good news. That's great. But in previous guests that I've interviewed, I know one of the things that always pops up is community involvement. I mean, we're a small community, and people have to know who you are. But people will not just want to know who you are, but what do you do?
What do you do outside of work? Sure.
So, things that you do.
A lot involved in the chamber. I'm involved with my church a lot. I do some men's groups where I meet with other men, and we talk about the areas of our lives that sometimes are hard, that men don't like to talk about, but they'll talk about it maybe with other men. I've been involved with triathlons locally and actually all over California, where we volunteer. I volunteer at the AT&T Pro-Am that just last week. I feel like that's a great way to give back to the community, and I volunteer for the whole week. So that's kind of how I give back to our community here, and stay really involved in local chambers too.
Well, good. Well, and with kids growing up, obviously there's all the school activities. So, that really builds a good groundwork, especially if you have family that,
Sporting events. Oh my gosh.
Yes. Lots of,
all the time.
And what's really hard is after your kids grow up and go away and they don't play school, you're thinking, I just want to go to a game at the high school or whatever, because you still know some people, but you miss that.
Yeah,
it's kind of hard to just kind of throw that all away and go, okay, the kids are gone now. Now what do we do? But yeah, the community involvement is really important, and I think,
I think it is for every business, no matter what kind of business
exactly.
it is. We all need to give back to the community, especially this community. It's such a beautiful place, great people, but there's lots of needs in this community too. We don't necessarily, we don't necessarily see them every day, but there's a lot of need in this community.
They do exist.
They do.
And I think for people that don't realize that, you might not be exposed to a lot of it. But if you do your research on it, there's a lot of ways to give.
It doesn't have to be money.
No,
give your time.
No, exactly.
Give your time.
And I think that's, sometimes that's even more valuable. We get a lot of grants and money to a lot of our nonprofits, but then to do the actual work, we need, again, we need hands-on helpers. And that's huge, and it's hard to find.
Yeah,
it's hard to find. People,
people
always
are busy.
People are busy. But that's okay. It's just like I said, you've got to take that time to do a little bit of that community involvement. You have to take that time, whether it's an hour a day, half an hour a day, to get out and to network with people.
Yes.
It's not going to happen by you sitting behind your computer and thinking social media or your website's going to do all this business for you. Even with, belonging to a huge organization like Sotheby's, they do great marketing for you, but you still have to meet those people and get those referrals, because referrals is like the heartbeat of your business.
Well, 90% of my business are referrals. People that I know or people that I have worked with before, people that just know me. That's 90% of my business. I don't really have other ways that I bring in business.
No, and it's important.
Very important.
Yeah. Any last words of wisdom for any business owners out there?
Business owners, just do your due diligence and then hang in there, because it takes a number of years to build up a clientele.
Don't give up.
Yeah, don't give up.
Don't give up.
Be as energetic as you can throughout every day. Get up every day. Every day is a gift.
And ask for help. People don't do that. They think, oh, well, I'm going to do this all on my own, or I don't want anybody to know that I'm not doing well yet. And it's okay to say, hey, I need help. I need customers. I need referrals. I need to talk to somebody. Put me in touch with the right people. So
Chamber of Commerce is a great place to find those people.
Absolutely, yeah. In fact, come and join us at one of our events, and you're going to meet a whole bunch of people that can help you all the time. And so, well, I really appreciate you coming and spending some time with me and learning a little bit about Joe Smith, and we wish you very well, and thank you again.
Thank you.